Good morning, guys. Back again for another of these wonderful, highly quality cinematic productions of the Takeaway for Teen Craft Explanation. Happy holidays, whatever you may be decking your halls for at this moment. There's any number of holidays that we're getting ready to celebrate and observe and participate in right now. I love them all. I love the opportunity to spend time with family, or if that's not something you particularly are looking forward to, enjoy the food, or maybe just even the time off school. A little backstory for this one. This month we're talking about vintage holiday ornaments. Now, I think we've well established by this point in this series of programs that I am not a crafty person. I have lots of ideas, not so great in the execution, and I'm sure that there are plenty of you out there who may be able to empathize with that. But I grew up the daughter of a professional crafter, so I spent a lot of time hanging out with Mom at her craft shows. And I've been to craft shows in my adult life, and they just don't seem to be the big thing that I remember when I was a kid. I mean, we would take over entire, it felt like they took over entire hotels. I remember my brother and I playing hide and seek in a great big Venice Inn with like multi-floors and everything while Mom was busy selling her shadow box wooden things. I'm getting off track. Point is this: I spend a lot of time looking at people's crafts when I was in my formative years. And there's always this big push toward antiquing things, making things look nice and old-fashioned and vintage, and lots of little old-looking frilly things on the edges of whatever, and Mom would rub varnish on wood to make it look like it was old wood. One moment. Sorry guys, these are the risks we take when we record, and the coworkers are in the building walking around just because I didn't want to be trapped in a closet recording. Anyway, like I was saying, Mom would take brand new wooden things and rub them all over with paint and varnish so they looked like they were like really, really old, and I always thought that was kind of strange, but now I get it. I mean, the aesthetic wears off on you eventually. So, when I think about decorating up for the holidays, Thanksgiving table, or anything really, Halloween's over, and you don't want to totally undecorate your house, but it's not quite time for Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or any of that yet. You gotta have something up, and so we're gonna make some vintage ornaments. So we have two craft options this month in your bag. One of them is actually really simple. It looks very cool, but I remember doing it when I was like maybe 6 or 7 years old, so that should give you an idea of how complicated it isn't. The other one, it takes a little bit more time, but it's actually pretty simple too. I made sure to test this one out on myself, because sometimes things that look really, really simple turn out to be just a pain in the neck. But I was able to manage it, so I know you can too. And it's one of these things where, I mean, I could see it actually becoming addictive. You could make a whole bunch of them. Actually, both of the crafts could be considered to be addictive. Just string them up all over the place. And they don't have to be even holiday related. You could adapt them, turn them into other seasonal things. You could make 4th of July ones. You could make Valentine's Day ones. You could make Arbor Day ones. You do you. So for the first craft that we're going to do, you're going to get out a few of the things that are in the bag. The first thing you're going to get out is the little canning jar lid. Nice and tin. Simple, simple. These are pretty cheap. You can buy them in big packs at the grocery store. Then you're going to get out a nail. Don't get tetanus. Don't poke it into yourself. And now you're going to have to supply probably this yourself. Just some piece of cardboard or rough wood. It's really just there to protect your table, because you're going to be hammering the nail. You don't want to hammer that into your desk, particularly not if the desk is your work desk. You also might want a piece of paper. This is strictly optional. It's for people who don't feel like they can make just whatever design they're going to do freehand. If you're going to use a piece of paper, which is always an option, it's the safer route, I will say, just go ahead and trace your lid onto the paper, just so you can have it the right size. Easy, right? Easy. Then you're gonna take that and you're gonna cut out the circle. I don't think I have to teach you guys how to cut out a circle. This is kindergarten stuff. This is the craft that I did when I was early elementary school. So, have confidence that you can manage this. There's your circle. There's your template. On here is where you are going to create your design, and it can be anything. You could write a word, you could draw a shape. Since I'm doing this for the holidays, I'm going to take my lovely pencil and I am going to sketch something holiday related. How about a snowflake? How do you draw a snowflake? I think it starts with like a cross, and then because they're all symmetrical and stuff, we're going to put like another cross, a smaller cross, right in the middle. It looks more like a star than a snowflake, but maybe snowflakes look like stars. I'm going to give it little branches on the top. It's your snowflake, if you choose to do one. No two of them are the same. You can make it look however you want, right? Right. There we go. It doesn't matter if it's beautiful, it's vintage. Got it? Alright, cool. Now, we're going to take that, and we want to keep it from moving around on our circle. So I'm going to tape it down. Grab some masking tape or painter's tape. It doesn't have to hold forever. You don't want it to hold forever. Pull off a strip or two here. Hold this down. Hold this down. If you've taped over your design by accident on the edges, well, it probably is a sign that you drew your edges too close to the edge of the circle, but let's move on. That should last. Now, pick up your nail and your hammer, and we're going to start poking holes. You do not have to hammer hard. Please do not hammer hard. It does not take much force to get through this little tin. If you hammer hard, you are going to end up with a piece of tin nailed to a piece of cardboard nailed to your desk. This is making me nervous, actually. As I said, this is my work desk. Alright, let's get another piece of cardboard. Stick underneath that one. Safety first. Like I say, you could be doing this with plywood or just about anything. You could even take this outside and do it on the grass. Doesn't matter. Alright, that feels a little bit safer to me. You don't need to go too far. Just get the little point in. Might be a good time to check just to make sure it looks like it's supposed to. Look, a hole. If you really wanted to get complicated with this, you could get different size nails. So you could have big holes and little holes. You could do a whole pointillism thing. I'm not really doing that right now. I'm just going to take my nail, and first I'm going to hammer little holes at the main points of this design. If you're doing something more freeform with curves and whatnot, you can decide what your main points are. With a snowflake, well, it's pretty easy to see. Hammer, hammer, hammer. Hey, I got a joke for you guys. How did the blind carpenter regain his sight? He just picked up a hammer and saw. Ha! Alright, I've got all of my points hammered in. Let's take a peek and see how things are going. Wow, okay. I think it... Alright, remember what I said about getting too close to the edges? Alright, it's okay. It's fine. It's vintage. Now we're just going to connect the dots. Got it? All those lines. We're just going to go over them. I could have left the template on, but obviously it wasn't doing me any favors. See? So true facts, I actually have some people coming in to work on the flooring in my house next week. I told the carpenter I didn't want any carpet on the stairs. He gave me a blank stare. Alright, well, that's my snowflake. It's a snowflake of sorts. You know what? I'm not gonna go out on that note. Let's try it again. Oh, kind of got stuck to my cardboard. That's a hazard with the graph. All right, let's move on and try this again. Gotta go out on a good note. This time I'm just gonna freehand it so I can make sure I don't get too close to the edges. And I'm going with a tree. Anyone can draw a tree, right? I'm just going to make the top point, and then I'm gonna make the edges of the branches. You know, honestly, I don't even really need to be demonstrating this part for you, do I? You guys could draw whatever you wanted. You don't have to try to follow my example on the actual drawing. The point is the hammering of the nail through the tin, which will create your vintage ornament. What I choose to put on it, that makes no never mind at the end, does it? I mean, I guess if you wanted to try to follow along and make one just like mine, I might wonder at why you would choose to do such a thing, but it's your call. I got another one for you. So an old carpenter and a young carpenter were working on putting a roof on a house. And after a while, the old carpenter noticed that the young carpenter was looking at each nail before he grabbed it and throwing away half of them. He said, "What on earth are you doing?" And the young carpenter said, "Well, these nails have the head on the wrong side. They're upside down." And the carpenter said, "You dummy. Those nails are for the other side of the roof." Alright, gotta put my trunk on my tree here. It's not that bad, actually. It doesn't look so much worse than the tree that I did when I was 6 or 7 years old. See? It's recognizable as such, anyway. So now you're going to take it and turn it upside down and take the little piece of ribbon that should be in your bag, and you're just going to make a little dot of glue right there, and take your ribbon, kind of make a loop, stick the ends in the glue, and let it dry. Just like that. And when it's dried, you've got a perfectly lovely ornament. You might choose, if you'd like, to dress it up a little more than that, put some lace doily on the back to give it a lovely little border, but you don't have to. That was the easy one. You ready for craft 2? Craft 2 is why you have all the yarn in your bag. You have a bundle of gray, and then you should have a whole bunch of strands of either red or white or this lovely multicolor. You're going to be making gnomes. This you should have too, a cut out piece of a wrapping paper tube, and a card, and one little bead. You may also have a few extra strings in there. I hope I remember to put them in most of the bags. If not, any string will work. I'll tell you when. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the gnome's little hat. You're going to need this tube, and you're going to take one string at a time of these longer strands. These longer cut strands. The other one is one big string, I suppose. And you're going to fold them in half, just like that. And you're going to take the loop end, pay attention, push it through the tube, take the other ends and pull them around and push them through the loop on the other end. It might get a little tricky to deal with the tube rolling all over the place. It'll get easier when the tube gets a little more weight from all the yarn, because you're going to take every single strand and do the same thing. This is a little time consuming, I get it, I know, but it'll be worth it in the end, I promise. Just take the strands, go through the tube, and snug them up nice and snug next to each other. It's not crucial that you put them really close at this point, but as you work around, you're going to be covering every bit of that cardboard. And it's just easier to start from the beginning. Through the tube. You may be more adept than I am at getting things to stay in place. Through the tube. There we go. And snug it up. Miss Keiko wanted to know how to make one of these too. I brought her in and I showed her what I was doing. Naturally, of course, when she tries this, she'll be able to do this much faster. You don't need to watch this whole thing. Why don't we just cut to the chase? Now, we have something that looks sort of like an octopus. I say we make it look even more like an octopus. Take all of these strands and just poke them as neatly as you can through the hole and bring them out the other end. It's pretty easy. This is not tricky at all. The only thing you need to make sure of is once they're through the other end, you make sure that they are all through the other end, not tied up and tangled with each other. This is so, well, things will be a lot easier on the other end if you make sure of all of this now. Just straighten them all out. Make sure that they're all pointing the same direction. Any of them look much shorter than the others, just means they got tangled up and just yank them all down, right? Alright. That should be about enough. Everything looked good. Now you really have something that looks kind of like a squid with many, many, many legs. Something Lovecraftian. Right, so you have the beginnings of your hat here. What we need to do is make the crown of the hat. So you're just going to take one of your extra pieces of string, if I gave you one, if not, any string will work, and you're going to bring it around all those legs and you're going to tie it nice and snug. Tight as you can. If you give it as little room at the end as possible, your hat will have a little more body to it. If you tie it too close to the crown, then it'll be a little teeny tiny short hat, which is absolutely valid if you want a teeny tiny short hat for your gnome. I will not criticize. Nice and snug. And I'm going to take those two ends and just kind of poke them down to make them be a part of the body of the hat. Just kind of fiddle with it until it looks as neat as you want, and now you're just going to trim up those ends, not all the way off, but just neaten them up to be the pom-pom on the top of the hat. Start making sure that they're all kind of neat, and you're just going to cut straight across the top. As neatly as you can. Once you've done that, then you'll be able to round it up a bit more, make the edges a little shorter, so that it's more of a ball shape. See? Just kind of round it on. So cute. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can always come back and fix it a little more once you see how it looks once it's on the gnome itself. Got it? Alright. Just about it. A little more over here. Alright, I have a cute little gnome hat. Look at that. That wasn't hard at all. Now we're just gonna poof it up a little bit and set it aside for now. Scoop away all of the yarn bits and get ready to make the gnome face. You're gonna take the gray yarn and you're gonna take your little card. Now you have a choice here. You see how the card has one direction that's shorter than the other? If you wrap it around the shorter way, which you're going to do over and over and over, you'll get a fuller beard for your gnome. If you wrap it around the longer way, you'll get a slightly longer beard. It's your call. Whatever you do, it's not going to be that different, honestly, because the cards aren't extraordinarily rectangular. Just kind of wrap the card. Do not do it too tightly. You shouldn't see the card bending all that much. But once you're done, then you're going to snip off this little end here, just to get him out of the way. You're going to take a piece of string, either one that I provided you or one that you obtain on your own, doesn't matter, and you're going to tie a loop around one end. Just a knot here. Nice and snug, just the way you did with the pom-pom. Tight as you can. Right, now you're going to go to the other end, and here's where you're going to just snip off that little end. And then you're going to cut all of the ends, separating them from the card. and you have a little tousled thing. Looks like one of the Fry Guys from McDonald's. Am I too old? Do you guys know the Fry Guys? Whatever. Okay, so now we're going to take a piece of string, and we're going to come just under the top, and we're going to do it again. We're going to tie another little loop as tight as you can, just to make a little ball at the top. See? This is how you would make tassels to decorate pretty much anything, by the way. You can put tassels on your scarves, tassels on your hats, get bigger pieces of card to wrap it around. And it's a pretty easy thing to do. This little tiny tassel, deceptively, trim up some of these other ends that for some reason got too long. I think they were from the string themselves. Well, that's your gnome. We're gonna tuck him in the hat. Alright, so you can see that his beard is a little short. I went with the fuller beard as opposed to the longer beard. But he'll look like a gnome as soon as we give him his nose. Straighten him up here a little bit. And you can also do things like untwist some of his beard hairs if you want it to be a little curly. That'll make it even fuller if you chose for the long direction. It would take you some time. You could also take some sort of like a wool brush and do that too, though I caution you, be careful with that, because it's easy to go too far and you can't really undo that all that well. But, well, you'll see for a minute. It'll look just fine as soon as I put his nose on him. We're just going to find his best side, his best angle, according to the hat and the beard. And once we've figured out exactly where his face is, we'll take a little tiny blob of glue and put it right up under the crown of the hat where the beard touches it. And stick his nose in there. Aw, look at him. Well, we gotta let him dry now. I'll show you the one that I made earlier, so you can see that I did some stuff to his beard. Uncurled it to make it a little bit fuller, a little bit messier. If you wanted to, you could make a whole bunch of these and string them and make a garland of gnomes. Cover your windows, cover your trees. 'Tis the season to have gnomes everywhere. And if all else fails, and your holidays get really awkward with boring conversations or arguments or whatever, you can always gather up all the younger cousins or whatever, take them to a table and teach them all how to make gnomes and tin punch ornaments. It's a great excuse to get away from any family drama and have some good, old, wholesome fun. If you make gnomes, these particularly, I would really love to see your gnomes. I would love to see if you choose to style them differently. You can add things to your gnomes if you decide you want to give them like decorations on their hats, if you want to make their beard, put flowers or whatever in it. You can do whatever you want. I would love to see the gnomes. Cover our Facebook page with gnomes. Send them in via email. I want to see them. I might make a bunch of gnomes for the youth services department, put them all over the desk. What do you think? All right, well, I will see you guys next month, and starting in January, we're going to try to aim for doing these in person. Might still have some kits for people who can't participate that way, but I miss seeing you guys, and I hope to make some lovely crafts or amusing abominations with you in person in the coming year. For now, I'll see you later. Bye.